So, does anyone have a pet?
I used to have a gerbil, but it died of starvation.
You already said that on the podcast.
God, MADDOX, why'd you bring this back up?
As a cat owner, you tend to buy toys for your cat to try to entertain them. Specifically, automated cat toys. Our cat really likes those, and I think they tend to be popular. The quality of these things is atrocious.
Right. And how many people are spending that on their cat?
I spend that on food every week.
And one day you're gonna like get a dog or something that you care more about, and then you're gonna be buying.
Whoa, Jerome!
If you do start this business, is the name of the business going to be Toys for Your?
Oh my!
Class is now in session.
Welcome back to episode 17 of the 9 Degrees Podcast, the #1 non-educational, education-themed podcast in the world. We may have 9 degrees among us, but we still don't know much about anything. We will keep you informed about the most interesting current events in the world, but make sure you use a fact checker because we certainly don't. As always, I'm your boy Jerome. We got MADDOX, we got Jackson, we got special guest Jared back for another episode. Remember, you can catch the audio version of this podcast on Apple, Spotify, anywhere you can find podcasts, including the video version on youtube.com/JeromeVaz. Make sure to follow us on socials at 9 Degrees Pod on everything. And come join the classroom on Discord. Class is now in session with our weekly segment where we catch up on life and pleasantries. Homeroom. How's everybody doing this week? Hopefully everyone's doing swell.
Well, as a special guest, I feel very honored to be on the show this week.
Well, you haven't been on the pod in 3 episodes, and we film like once a month, so it's been a while. Been a while, buddy.
That's just how it is.
Happy to have you back.
Yeah,
Happy
I'm
to be here.
glad you're back. That's my pleasantry. Welcome back.
I definitely have a gripe, if I may share with you guys. So my mother recently had her 50th birthday. Congratulations, Mom. Clap, 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 clap. And, you know, I threw her a little surprise party in Virginia, and I wanted to get her a nice birthday cake, you know? So I get her a cake. I ordered a couple days in advance. It specifically said no modifications, right? So in the comment section, I put, if possible, can you please write, quote, happy birthday, end quote, text. So read that back. Can you please add, I think I put please add. Can you please add happy birthday text? Quote, happy birthday, exclamation point, end quote. Now, I'm gonna send you guys a photo here in our group chat, if you'll check your phones momentarily. The photo quite literally says, happy birthday text. And we'll put it up here on the screen here. But they wrote the words happy birthday text. And I'm just like, how dumb can you, are you serious? I know
That's
I
hilarious.
put the quotation marks in the right spot too. So someone is just playing a prank on me, or I don't know what's going on, but I was very upset. I was very upset by this.
Maybe that's what you get for requesting modifications.
You're right. Maybe that's what it was. Honestly, I wasn't that mad. I thought it was kind of funny. But I'm just like, the stupidity of some people. This is crazy. You know?
Maybe they just thought the person you were celebrating's name was Text.
Also, Jerome, you ordered this cake from Paris Baguette, which, do you know what country that chain is from? Anyone
Japan.
know? No. It's from South Korea, actually. So
Oh, I was
I don't
close.
know.
I was very close.
You were close, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So
deceptive
what you're
name,
telling me
but-
is a Korean wrote that on there and they couldn't understand what I
well,
was saying.
someone who maybe didn't have the best English skills. Possible.
Okay.
Here's the
possible.
real question. How was the
American?
cake?
Phenomenal. Probably one of the best cakes I've ever had in my life. It was so
Wow.
good. It was
So they-
so good.
They knew they could get away with
So
that.
they
Yeah.
gave you a laugh. They
Yep.
gave you a great cake. What are you
Yep.
complaining about?
You're right. I shouldn't be. Honestly, let's make it
Turn
a
that
rec.
frown
Everyone,
upside down.
everyone go to Paris Baguette. I've got
And
one more
sponsor
gripe
us, by the
though.
way.
Also, yeah,
Yeah,
come on.
sponsor the pod. I've got one more gripe though, if allowed. I've been starting to go to the gym again, and yo, people are weird in the gym, bro. People are just weird in the gym. The other day I was in there, and honestly, like, I don't know if I'm being mean by saying this, but there was this guy that was running on the treadmill, and he was FaceTiming his friend at the same time, and just he ran on the treadmill for like 20 minutes, 30 minutes, something like that, and talked to his friend, like out loud conversation with his friend the entire time. And I don't know. Am I wrong to be like mad about that? Like, is that normal?
Nah.
I
What
also
was
thought
the weird part? That he was talking, or that he had like the FaceTime?
I think in the moment it was the talking, because I just like to be quiet and like listen to my own things in the gym. But like thinking back on it, the fact that there's like a camera just like not recording everything, but people can just see. Like, I don't know, it feels weird. Get cameras out of gyms, man.
No, I think it's weird. Anytime people FaceTime or speakerphone talk or listen to music aloud in public, I just don't understand it.
Yeah.
More what I don't understand is I would never do that because I would be so concerned about inconveniencing somebody, and I don't understand why people don't feel that same, reciprocate that feeling.
Yeah, no, I mean, I understand why people do it. It's because, they like empathy and they
Convenient.
can't understand that they're bothering other people. But I understand why they do it. It's because it's convenient for them.
Yeah, I guess so. It just irked me, man. And I was like, please stop FaceTiming. Or you know what, Maddox? I think you hit it nail on the head. I think it's the out loud speakerphone conversation just in public. I think that's what it is. But anyway, anyone else got any gripes for this week, Jackson?
I do. Yeah, actually, yes. So our 10-year high school reunion is coming up. And so
shout out to the people that are planning it, aka me.
Anyways, so that what that means is that our class Facebook group is becoming more and more active, which, it's a nice socialization opportunity. But here's my gripe. So some people, including possibly some people on this podcast, are overusing the @everyone feature, which, if you don't know what that is, it basically sends a notification to everyone in the entire group, which is like hundreds of people. And when I say overusing, I mean they're using it like every day for, well, they're using it like, say, 5 times on a single post, like in the comments, and then, it's like once a day kind of thing. And yeah, Jerome, do you have any comment on this?
Yes, Jackson,
phenomenon?
because why is it that
comment.
all of your gripes always revolve around me? I have to use the @everyone, man, because no one responds. I've been asking for months for people to RSVP to this thing, and no one responds. But then they'll DM me, and they'll be like, oh, you should do this to help. And I'm like, okay, how about I just @everyone, and everyone respond?
I didn't know our high school was in North Dakota, by the way. That was a nice impression. That was a nice voice you did.
Jackson, I think this is coming from your Discord moderator etiquette, because I think in Discord it is very annoying when people use the @, but I think the context matters in this one. Like, this is a completely otherwise dead Facebook page that is just being used to try to plan a once in a decade event.
Yeah.
And there's this tool that you can use to automatically get everyone's attention, which it's not even working right because I don't check Facebook most of the time.
That's
most
my
people
point.
don't anyway. And it limits your use to once a day. So like they're not like spamming it. I mean, it is every day, but
here's my complaint. I think it's fine to use it. And in fact, the first time it was used, I was like, oh, that's very useful, actually. I didn't even realize there was @everyone on Facebook. But when you use it every day, it becomes a little bit like the boy who cried wolf
Here's the thing, though. It's not like I've been using it every day since like July. I've started using it, I wouldn't even say every day. Maybe every other day or once every 3 days for the last like 2 weeks. Come on.
That's still a lot, though.
That's a lot.
In Jackson's defense, that's still a lot.
That's 4. That's 4
also,
times.
Jerome, you're not the only one who's doing it. There's another person.
There's other people. There's other people in there that are doing it.
I do stand with Jackson's point that if you overuse it, it loses its effectiveness.
That's my point, and that's what I say to my friends on Discord is like, only do @everyone if like once, like when when you really need to use it, because otherwise,
Well, to put a bow on that, then, everyone from our high school that is watching this podcast on November 18th, just so you know, RSVP for the 10-year reunion. The deadline is November 12th, so do with that what you will. Yep, you heard that correctly.
I think that's after this gets posted, but
there's no deadline. If you don't RSVP, you don't get food. But you can still come.
Said it.
That's
sure.
Fair.
Okay. Well, Jackson, I noted. Today is November 12th. Today is the last day to RSVP, so there will be no more @everyone's. Actually, I say that. I'm sure there will be more @everyone's. Just
I'm
bear with
getting my
me
gripes
for
ready
2
for the
more
next
weeks.
episode.
Okay, well, with that, let's dive on into first period with yours truly, Professor Jerome. I got a couple finance-themed stories today, as always. My first one is: are we familiar with RBC Bank? I believe it is the Royal Bank of Canada, or something like that,
Yes.
or maybe Royal British Columbia, or something.
It's definitely the first
Anyway.
one.
RBC Bank being sued for not doing its fiduciary duty. MADDOX says that's the most boring way I could explain the story, but it is what happened. Okay, so here's what's happened. There's a man named Chris Devoche. We're just going to call him Chris. And says back in 2019, he had $88,000 invested into a portfolio at RBC Bank. He is just a regular Canadian carpenter guy from British Columbia, and his $88,000 grew into $415 million over the course of 3 years or so, before losing everything, to which he claims due to bad financial advice from RBC Bank. So here's what he specifically says. He's suing due to RBC Bank giving inadequate advice and being negligent on their fiduciary duty. And so he invested $88,000 into essentially Tesla stocks and derivatives in 2019. By the end of June 2020, that was worth $26 million. Insane.
It's crazy.
He said at this point, he said he wanted to move out of his rental apartment and buy a home. So he contacted a representative at RBC about getting a loan against his equity in order to buy a house. At that point, his portfolio was worth about $50 million. RBC then provided him with a margin account to easily be able to borrow money against his trades, as well as they introduced him to a financial management advisor at RBC Bank and entered into an agreement for financial planning advice. Okay, are we following so far?
Yeah, I have some questions later, but yeah.
So by November 2021, the portfolio, still mostly just Tesla, if not only Tesla, was worth $415 million. Now, a little sticky here, but RBC twice advised him to donate $8.5 million in 2020 and $17 million in 2021, presumably for tax efficiency, but to RBC's charitable gift fund. A little questionable here. And this also kind of builds the story of they're not doing everything in the best interest of their client. They're kind of trying to manipulate him a little bit. And so he keeps his money in there. And by October 2022, Tesla shares were on a sharp decline, and he was forced to sell all, if not most, of his shares to repay the loans from that margin account that he had. So I'll pause there. What do we think?
I mean, immediate reaction. This man had 50 million assets, and he was in a renter's home trying to get a house.
I was thinking the same thing. Like,
I think the exact same thing too.
he couldn't figure that out, and he chose to. I mean, you could just sell a little bit. Like, why do you need a margin against it?
This is a classic case of being greedy, right? And then blaming it on somebody else. Like, here's my actual personal opinion on this whole thing is, if he's just like a carpenter from British Columbia or whatever, then okay, he's clearly not like financially literate. You would assume someone like that turns $88,000 into $50 million would at that point just like sell everything and just retire. No, I mean maybe not, but like
yeah. The more you talk about it, where did a carpenter come up with $100K just to throw into Tesla derivatives? You know what I mean?
I mean, it's also a fair question because this guy's not old. He's like maybe like 5 years older than us.
What? A 33-year-old carpenter had $88K in the bank to throw at Tesla derivatives. Didn't know that he could liquidate assets to buy a house and then lost $400 million 2 years later.
I actually I'm going to push back on this. I mean, okay, being 33 and having $88,000 in disposable.
That's fair.
I don't think that's crazy. I don't think that's insane.
You're saying, has that money to throw at options. You're assuming that he understands the risks of options like you do. And my point is, most people thinking about investments are thinking about investments as the return proportional to the risk you're taking. And I almost think that for someone to make this extravagant of a return, they don't understand the other side of that trade.
Yeah.
Which is losing all the money.
Yeah.
Fair.
Very quickly. So it's like almost like to act, you would think that someone that did that is super intelligent, but I actually think it shows that they're like negligent or like they don't know. Yeah, like they don't know what's going on. Yeah.
I think the only way that this stands up in court is if there's actual proof of whoever's on the wealth management side at RBC that's like, you know, advising him, if they were literally like, no, you should not sell because this is going to continue going up, you know, because they're right to an extent that like a wealth manager is supposed to put your best interests at heart, right? Like if you have 415 million, they should have been telling him, hey, you should take some of these profits and put it into other things that aren't going to lose money, into like a high yield savings or whatever. That being said, a financial planner or a wealth manager is not the same thing as having like a managed portfolio by someone. Like they can give him advice, but ultimately it's his decision. If he just kept saying no, then that's on him, you know? If someone was like, if he had a managed portfolio that someone at RBC is like doing all of the trades and they lost all this money on his behalf, then like, yeah, maybe there was something sketchy going on, you know?
Well, and so let's be clear. He initially put the 88,000 into Tesla stock / options himself.
That's right.
And then
that's my understanding.
Only when he decided he wanted to buy a house with those funds or borrowing against those funds, he entered into the agreement with
correct. But to your point, like he already had let me see if I can find the number here, 25 million before that even happened.
And then it went up substantially. I think I feel like, and there probably is, you know, you just need like the records of the actual communications between the people. Because I mean, yeah, you're right. It sounds like he made these investment decisions himself,
right? And
so,
yeah, you're taking on risk.
Yeah. So I mean, and it doesn't sound like when he entered into that agreement, he was giving discretion of the portfolio over to the advisor. Because I can tell you this, an investment advisor that has discretion over client funds and is managing that and is responsible for that is not going to do that because they understand. I mean, even if they think that they could get filthy rich doing this, that's not what they want. They don't want to take the flip side of that coin. You know, they wouldn't want to deal with the consequences of that. So
I fully agree.
I say that with confidence, and I actually do know stories of financial advisors doing similar stuff, like selling naked puts and losing all of their clients' money. But, I don't know.
I think the bottom line for me is I think margin accounts are way too easy to get access to. This like very much reminds me of that story about that guy that was on Robinhood, right? Like several years ago that lost a bunch of money on margin, and then probably have to bleep that. But like, yeah, it just reminds me of that. Margin accounts are too easy to get access to, and people that are not financially literate shouldn't have access to them. I don't care if you have 415 million in the bank.
So one clarifying comment before we move on from this. So does he have his house? Was he able to fully was he able to keep the house?
I assume so. I mean, that was millions of dollars ago. I assume he moved out of his rental and bought a house.
Well, I mean,
but I don't know.
Whatever. I mean, I forget what the conclusion or the end of the story where it was like he had to like liquidate all those assets to
yeah. Right. He had to liquidate his portfolio. Sounds like
to keep his house. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, you're right. So he got a house out of it. How much is that house worth now?
I bet it was a pretty nice house. If he had, $400 million in proposed assets, I think it's a pretty nice house.
You make a very good point, Jared.
Maybe there's a happy ending to this.
I got another one for you guys. Do we remember FTX and Sam Bankman-Fried, who is currently serving 25 years in prison?
We remember.
All right.
That was like 200 years.
It's not. I believe it's 25.
Fact check us in the comments.
Fact check us. Somewhere between 25 and 200 years in prison. What happens if you die in prison? Does your body just like rot in a cell for the additional time that you're supposed to do?
Do you really think that's how it works?
Sure, they just bury you.
No, but can we pause on FTX for a second? Can I read you a note that I found about the podcast in my notes app, that reading it back, I was like, this doesn't make sense at all. I wrote down, did the law of conservation of matter not disprove water evaporating from Earth? You guys try to explain to me what the hell that means.
Do you have any idea when you wrote that?
I don't know. I don't know when
day? What was your blood alcohol content at the time?
No. I was not inebriated. I was fully sober.
What do you mean you were driving when you wrote a note?
Sometimes like thoughts pop in my head, so I throw that car on auto steer and yeah, and I type things out.
You can tell Siri to make a note for you.
Yeah,
I will do that. I will do that. I will do that going forward. But tell me what this means. Did the law of conservation of matter not disprove water evaporating from Earth? I know what I was thinking, and it was a really stupid thought, but here's what I was thinking. For whatever reason, I was like, the oceans are getting like more shallow because the world is getting too hot and water is evaporating out of the ocean. And then in my head, I was like, wait, but if it evaporates, it just goes into the clouds and then it comes back down in rain. So by theory of law of conservation of matter, the oceans cannot be evaporating and it cannot be getting too shallow. And so doesn't that disprove global warming? That's what was going through my head for like half a second. And then when I read this back, I was like, this is so stupid. Continue.
I have a quick question.
Go ahead.
Before we get into the madness of that, does everybody remember the guy who played Rhodey in the first Iron Man? Do we remember what that actor's name was?
Terrence Howard.
Okay. Do
1
we
+
also
1 = 3.
Do we remember the book that Terrence Howard wrote about challenging core fundamental principles of mathematics?
Yeah. 1 + 1 = 3. It was his own math that he called teriology or something.
In that book, if you read the preface, you can very clearly see the mistake that he made, that he then tries to explain for 250 pages after that. What you did right there was a synopsis of that entire book. You made a critical mistake at the very beginning and just kept talking.
Yeah. I very quickly realized when I read that note back that the oceans are not going down because of global warming. The oceans are rising because the ice caps are melting. Anyway, all right. If no one wants to, call me stupid, then we can move on to
I think we got that. We've got it under control now.
All right. Hopefully that didn't derail the entire podcast. All right. So
Just
FTX is suing Binance for $1.8 billion. So you guys remember FTX, a lot of customer deposits, fraudulent funds and all these things. And they were found guilty, and Sam Bankman-Fried is going to jail, or is in jail. So here's what happened with Binance specifically. In July of 2021, Binance owned a portion of FTX, right? And FTX wanted to buy back its equity stake from Binance in a now fraudulent share repurchase deal. They used essentially overvalued crypto plus customer deposits to fund the transaction, meaning for FTX to buy back that equity from Binance, right? Binance walked away with $1.8 billion in cash, and FTX essentially repurchased shares that were worthless. The transaction was now they're saying it was orchestrated to conceal FTX's financial instability, sending a false signal of strength to the market. That's where I want to pause, because everything that I just said, doesn't it just more so prove that FTX was the one that was doing fraudulent things? Like, how can you sue Binance to get back money that you gave them, but you were the one committing the fraud when you gave them that money? You know what I'm saying?
Well, that makes sense. The American way is just file a lawsuit and sort out the details after.
The way that it went, though, was Binance basically forced them into this transaction. And so I guess they're putting the blame on Binance because they forced the transaction to happen. And therefore, Binance sent a false signal to the market about the strength of FTX's balance sheet, and
that's why it's Binance's fault.
Yeah, it
I
seems
feel
like
like
a
they're just
stretch,
they're just reaching at straws to try to recoup some money.
But
right?
If recouping money means making customers' funds whole, like they should probably be.
That's fair.
You
bring up a good point.
Yeah, they should probably be. What do they say? Trying all the options.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. I have a hard time believing this one or the previous one holds up in court, because it's like, okay, FTX, you guys were the one that were committing fraud, and you funded a deal fraudulently to buy back your equity, and then now you're asking for the money back because it was a fraudulent transaction, but it's like you're the one that caused the fraud. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
We'll see what happens, but I just thought it was an interesting one. I have nothing else about FTX. I've got one more for you guys though. This is more of kind of general thoughts. It's not really an article, okay? But it's about work from home. So you guys know I am and have always been a super strong proponent of work from home, but I may have found my very first downside to this whole thing. Baby boomers are now saying they don't need to retire because of work from home. They're now able to work from home, prolong retirement even longer, technically while being able to collect Social Security. If you go past the age requirement, there's no requirement that says you need to be retired. So they can collect Social Security, they can continue working well into their 70s, and the argument that I've seen is basically without the added grind of commuting or having to physically go into the office or whatever it is, they've been able to continue working. And it's also tightening the labor supply, or not the labor supply, the job demand supply. And my thought there is people that are baby boomers that are in their 60s are either mid-level managers or executives, right? And if they're not retiring, then people that are in their 40s can't get promoted. So anyway, what are your guys' thoughts? Do we think this is a real problem, or am I just making it a problem?
My first thought was that I didn't know that boomers knew how to work from home.
That's a fair point.
I thought there was too much tech. They needed too much tech skills to figure that one out.
Well, they get their grandkids to come set it up for them one time,
Oh, they have they have the mount-on webcams.
That's right.
And the I don't know, the McDonald's headsets.
I was gonna say their headphones look like the ones you're wearing.
Don't they usually not wear headphones? Just do the audio through the speaker.
It's just
echoing.
And
then it's just echoing through everything.
Facts.
No, but I think it's a serious problem. First off, the not retiring so people can't get promoted. That's problematic. Then it's okay, you're already making your full salary, presumably, 6 figures plus, and you can now draw on Social Security as well, which is okay, everyone that's below you on the food chain in the workforce, they are paying taxes into Social Security. Sure, you're also paying taxes as well as a baby boomer if you're continuing to work. But that money is then getting allocated right back to you, and you're continuing to work. It's come on.
I'm going to push back on this.
Go ahead.
I think that this is one of those things that if the market was working properly, it wouldn't be a problem, because, if there are jobs that boomers can do that, into old age that need to be done, we shouldn't be saying, oh, boomers need to retire so we can open up more jobs for other people. We should be thinking, how do we create how do we make sure people are employed to the level that people want to be employed? It's we shouldn't be thinking about how we take jobs from one people and give them to another. It's
but that's kind of more so of there aren't enough jobs in the entire workforce. But I'm talking more about career progression. Say someone that's 75 is the senior VP at a firm, and that position doesn't get opened up until that person retires because there's just no opportunity, right? And so now you're waiting. That person's 80, and the next guy in line that's been waiting since he was 50 years old is 65 now. Does he just miss out on that opportunity altogether because he then retires? And then
my point is, if the younger person was more equipped to do the job, they would boot the old guy and hire the new guy. If the old guy, basically, you're just saying that they're keeping people around just based on seniority, and I'm saying in a theoretically perfect world that wouldn't happen, which it does happen, but I'm saying theoretically that
it should.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
the
I was going to
most
say
competent person should be getting the job.
Yeah.
And if the people can stay competent and do the responsibilities into old age, then the younger people got to find other opportunities or get better.
Well, I was going to say that's a lot of fat on that bottom line for that company to be paying, because I mean it's the most senior people who take the biggest hit on like the amount of like payout that a company has to give. So
that is true.
I mean, if a company wants to basically lose money because a boomer is 60% efficient compared to somebody 20 years younger than them, go for it. I will say from maybe a different perspective, not to like disagree with the point entirely, but from like a different perspective, from like an engineering perspective, I want the old heads. I don't want those guys to retire because they know where everything is and they've like done the designs before. So like half the time we can't find like a file somewhere and it's one guy who knows
who remembers
where it is.
From 1982.
Exactly. So, I mean, from an engineering perspective, and this is maybe like electrical centric as well, like those guys know what they're doing. So, probably a niche pocket of the larger conversation that you're having.
Yeah.
But I want engineers to stay until they're like 85 because those guys, they know what they're doing.
Well, all right. Fair. You guys let us know in the comments what you think. Jackson, were you going to give your opinion as well?
Yeah, I think the only comment I have on this is that I generally think people should be able to retire earlier. I'm not going to say, it's hard for me to say whether or not it's bad or not. And obviously, like, we're not going to have good evidence for that for several more years. This whole work from home phenomenon is like, as far as it being common, is like pretty new. I guess if people are willing to do it, it's okay. But like, I don't like this idea of prolonging retirement being normalized in our work culture,
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Yeah, like that becomes the expectation.
Yes, exactly.
The optionality of it, I think, is good. I actually hear a lot of stories about people really struggling in retirement because they've lost purpose and routine. And I think that actually work from home could be or even like part-time work from home is like a good option for people to have. And a lot of people that retire don't have enough money to retire, and so like their quality of life is just like capped at Social Security plus a little bit more maybe, and it could be healthy to have this option for some people.
Well,
you guys are showing me that I'm the asshole here. Okay.
Well, one more point on top of all of this is those people who are like drawing security and getting a salary, is that not better from like the longevity of Social Security that those people continue to pay taxes into Social Security?
Okay, I get it. They're self-funding as opposed to just drawing on the workforce.
But Jerome, I will say to you, I think the point that you were making, okay, if companies are just going to keep the old senior people around just because they can work from home and that's convenient for them and they're not being productive, obviously that's problematic. And that probably is going to happen some. But exploring all the different possible variations of this, I don't know. I don't know if it's all bad. I don't know. You'd have to look at you'd have to look at individual scenarios, I feel like.
I agree. Well, okay, that's all I had for the week. Let's move right on into second period with Professor MADDOX. What you got going on this week? This podcast is sponsored by And Collar. And Collar is an affordable men's clothing company where products are sustainably made with the equivalent of 15 recycled plastic water bottles. Their shirts have 4-way stretch, are machine washable, liquid repellent, and wrinkle and stain resistant. You can go to andcollar.com right now and get 15% off using code 9 for 15% off. Thanks to And Collar. If you guys want to join the conversation with us as things are happening, come and join the Discord. The link is in the description below. It's completely free. You'll get advice, thoughts, commentary on current events in the classroom. It's just fun. We're fun to interact with, so come and join. On to second period.
I have my recurring segment, business ideas, the good and the bad.
We need a theme song. Jared, come
Everyone's
up with a theme
favorite
song right now. You've been gone for 3 weeks.
Can't do it. I'm going to plagiarize somebody.
All right, then.
So, does anyone have a pet, specifically a cat, but any pet?
I do not.
No, I do not.
None of you guys have pets.
Nor have I ever had a cat. I used to have dogs.
Family pets? Does anyone have
Yeah.
family pets?
I used to have a gerbil, but it died of starvation.
You already said that on the podcast.
God, MADDOX, why'd you bring this back up?
All right. Mental note, do not talk about animals on the podcast. So we have a cat. We've had our cat for like a little over a year now. And as a cat owner, you tend to buy toys for your cat to try to entertain them. And I've found that there is an inefficiency in the cat toy market that needs to be exploited.
Continue.
Okay.
Specifically, the automated cat toys, like the ones with the batteries that can move around on their own or with a controller of some sort. Our cat really likes those, and I think they tend to be popular among cats. But the quality of these things is atrocious. It is the cheapest garbage that possibly could be produced. So they just, out of the box, they just don't function properly. We've bought several of these different brands, like tried a bunch of different options. They don't work out of the box. And it goes downhill from that. They just slowly deteriorate. You just think the batteries are dead, and then all of a sudden, a week later, they just start working again. Like,
what's the price range of this product?
Well, it's cheap, but the thing is, there's not another option other than cheap ones.
Got it.
I think the opportunity here is to maybe build a more, a higher quality one that's a higher price point, but actually works and has a sustainable lifespan. Because I actually think that, I don't know, my cat, when it does work, my cat really enjoys it. And I think in general, people spend a lot more money on their pets than they should. So I feel like there's a market there.
MADDOX, this is my favorite segment every single week because I feel like you pitch an idea and then I just get time to just tell you all the reasons why I think it's bad.
Okay, well, I'd like to hear this one because I feel like this is genuinely like a good one.
I actually don't think it's bad. My question is, don't you think they purposely make them cheap because the cat's just going to break it?
No.
It also gets you to buy more. There's a big turnover. It's kind of like how some people allege that Apple does not put the highest quality into their products to get you to buy them. In a secular way.
Well, I mean, okay, that's fair. Like maybe there's some planned obsolescence going into this, but I'm telling you, they don't even work out of the box. Like they don't even work to start with.
You still want multiple of them.
Yes, this is true. But I think in most markets, where you're giving consumers options, there's the cheap tier option, and then there's a higher
mid tier,
like
and then maybe a
tier,
luxury.
And you're spending more on it up front, but it should get you some more use. That's what I'm trying to target here with the cat toys.
Yeah.
And
maybe
and like now we could make like a Roomba type cat toy, like an AI like toy that doesn't just do.
You don't even need a remote control.
Yeah, like it could literally, I don't know, you could make something really, really cool with the technology that's out there. And I don't know. I think there's an opportunity.
Listen, honestly, maybe
let's do it.
Yeah, maybe not a bad one. Maybe it's a barrier to entry here. Maybe the infrastructure investment is too much, and people think it's not going to make as much money. Because maybe a lot of people like just buying the cheap, shitty cat toys.
Who likes that? Let me know in the
know.
comments if you like buying the shitty cat toys for your cat.
How much are they? Like, how much actually are they?
Can I do some research here real quick?
Yeah.
Like $10?
Yeah, I'm thinking that's like.
And how many times of use do you get out of it?
0.
Well, okay, I don't think it's actually 0. But if it's like you get 3 months of use out of it, then for me, I'd probably just spend $10 again.
Yeah, actually, here's an actual concern. The problem with your model, I think, is that in order to be profitable, you're products are going to have to be in the $50 to $100 range,
Right. And how many people are spending that on their cat?
Dude, I spend that on food every week.
Yeah, but listen, one day you're going to like, I don't know, get a dog or something that you care more about, and then you're going to be buying.
Whoa, Jerome!
What did I just do? What did I do? Or you're going to get a gerbil.
You're gonna. The internet is about to destroy you.
I want to have this fight with the internet. Dogs or cats? Dogs.
Cats.
Okay, you can say
Cats.
I prefer dogs over cats, but you can't say get a dog that you care more about.
Yeah. That's what I expect to happen. You're going to get a dog, you're going to care more about it, and then you're going to choose to buy the dog more toys than to feed your cat.
Though, maybe you could make a toy that works for both dogs and cats.
Sure. And then they turn into Cat Dog, like the TV show from back in the day.
Okay,
I remember that show.
That's actually how those two animals got fused. Actually, they were playing with the same toy, and then the owner smushed them together.
Yeah, that's traumatic. I would say, MADDOX, let's look at these toys the next time over the holidays, maybe at the reunion. Let's look at these toys and let's see what it would cost for us to make a prototype, alternative.
What about like race cars? Do you think she would play with like a remote controlled like Hot Wheels situation? Those are you could probably get one of those for like $60-$70 and feel like pretty durable.
That's a good point.
Tie some ribbon to the back of it.
That's essentially like the type of thing that I would be thinking of. She also, I mean, I don't know, Jerome. I just can't get past what you just said. Like the amount of love I have for this animal is like, and for you to just be like, when you get a dog, like this piece of garbage, like you're gonna forget about it. Absurd.
Oh my god, you're gonna make me cry.
So MADDOX, if you do start this business, is the name of the business going to be Toys for Your?
Oh my god,
Jackson, I'm gonna be honest. I was hoping you could help with the name because out of anyone, I thought you could come up with the most clever name. That one I think could use some work.
I mean, you're really gonna get I think you're gonna get a wider audience than just like the general people who are looking for cat toys.
It's gonna be a cat toy, dog toy, and a human toy.
Wait,
and an adult toy.
I have a sidebar of something so similar. Apparently the movie Wicked is about to come out with Ariana Grande and I don't know who the other actress is, but Ariana Grande.
Boo.
And they made Barbies for the two main characters, right? Elphaba and whatever Ariana Grande's witch is called. Glenda.
Do you even care about this movie?
No, not at all. I went to Wicked on Broadway one time and I fell asleep. Anyway, on the back of the box, they wanted to type out like wickedmovie.com, right? They put wicked.com. Nope. The handle should have been wickedmovie.com because wicked.com is an adult website.
No
Millions
way.
Printed and sold and out in the ether. So maybe, Jackson, you need to be on that marketing team.
Maybe. I'll look into it.
Oh, wow. We really got off topic with the cats, huh? I'm sorry that I dissed your cat, MADDOX. It wasn't specifically your cat, to be fair.
I just think you just don't even know. You've
love
never had a
keepers.
cat, have you?
That's true. I have never had a cat.
Yeah, you don't know what you're missing.
And I've never played with toys for my... Okay. Should we?
Whose block is it? Whose period is up next?
All right, moving right along into third period with Jared. Give us some sports ball, Jared. What's going on in the sports world?
We're completely done with MADDOX's.
I'd like to move away from cats and move on to balls, you know?
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. We'll be quick with the sports. Obviously, since the last time I've been on here as a special guest, the World Series is over. The Yankees lost. The world rejoices, or at least my world rejoices. Dodgers in 5, crazy. Go back and watch it. Yankees completely, self-imploded in the 5th inning of the 5th game. Gave up 5 runs, a lot of 5s. So yeah, Yankees lost. Everybody wins. So baseball's over. You got to wait till April, May next year. Then of the sports that are ending, we lead to the sports that are beginning. NBA season has started, NHL season has started. Kind of what you would expect there. A few teams like the Winnipeg Jets playing above their means to start, but too early to call on that. But if you were looking for a reminder, NBA and NHL's back. The big one, as everything's starting to ramp back up, college football for those who celebrate, and the NFL for basically the rest of the financial world in terms of the sports. College football is starting to get closer to rivalry week. So, in a couple of weeks, you'll start seeing some of the classic rivalries. But again, kind of too early to tell. A lot of SEC teams, a lot of Big Ten teams, a lot of ACC teams as well. Question mark. They kind of have a chance.
SMU killing it right now.
SMU, which is a wild statement. Miami got upset by Georgia Tech. So a few upsets last week, few that probably should have been upsets, but some questionable calls here and there. BYU, Utah being the big example. But yeah, that one's still kind of a little too early to call. 5 of the top 5 teams, 4 of them are Big Ten teams, which is kind of crazy. The rest is basically like SEC teams. So again, we'll see. Revisit back when I'm a special guest on episode 20 in January. But
first 12 team playoff situation.
It is the first 12-team playoff, so if you lose once, you're not out. If you lose twice and you're in the Big Ten and the SEC, you're not out. If you lose 3 times and you're in the SEC, you're probably not out. Everybody else is kind of SOL. So we'll see. I mean, we've got about 2 to 3 games, depending on who you cheer for, before the conference championship. Remember, for those who forgot, of the big 4 conferences, because the Pac-12 is no more, RIP. Any team that wins that conference, they're in. They're not guaranteed a first-round bye, but they're in. And then the highest ranked of the other conferences, they're also in. So it's going to be interesting. We'll see a lot of overlap on this podcast of teams that might get in. Alabama being one, Tennessee being the other. Not really Purdue, unfortunately. But I have a question from the audience.
What are the probabilities that Tennessee beats Georgia this weekend? And I'm only asking because apparently this determines when my brother comes here for Christmas. So
Tennessee,
I'm just trying to plan my schedule.
I think it's been like 6 years since Georgia's lost back-to-back games. It's 4 or 6 years. It's either 2020 or 2018. So pretty. I don't know though. Georgia's pretty
last time it happened, do you know which 2 teams they lost to back-to-back?
No.
Ole Miss and Tennessee.
Really?
Yeah, in that
order.
order.
I didn't know that.
I saw it on Twitter today.
Of course.
Yeah.
So, obviously Vol Twitter out in force, already defending Tennessee should they lose to Georgia. Of course.
Typical fashion.
So Georgia probably is going to win. I mean, it's in Athens, so it's a road game for Tennessee. Tough environment.
It's a tough commute, having to go all the way to Greece to play football. Jeez.
I know, right? Just to play football. So it's going to be tough for Tennessee, is what they're saying out there. But I mean, it's going to be a defensive slugfest. It's going to be probably a pretty ugly game to watch, but it's going to be very defensive heavy. So you might not see your brother for Christmas.
Well, I don't know. If they beat Georgia, does that what does that determine?
If Tennessee beats Georgia this week and doesn't lose to Vanderbilt, which not out of the question,
they're really good right now.
They're basically in the playoff, and they're probably in the SEC championship.
Okay.
Yeah. So I actually forget when the SEC championship is. It's got to be before Christmas, but the first round of the playoffs, if Tennessee wins out, which let's be honest, they're not going to, but if they do win out and they get a top 4 seed prediction for those who follow, then they could get a first round bye, to which then I don't think they would play near Christmas. They would play after Christmas. But if they get in as a 5 through 12 team, they might play near Christmas.
This is getting a little complicated, but that tells me, MADDOX, you need to make some contingencies that your brother might not be.
Okay, but the context here is his brother is a sports journalist. I feel like he might have to cover some of these other games that some of them will be around Christmas.
No. It's just no. It's my older brother.
Huh.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's a factor too, because he's in the band. So I don't know
exactly. That's what I thought you were talking about.
Dang! Oh, this is complicated.
Might be brotherless Christmas.
He just
I
said
was
it would
gonna
be.
say.
It would. There's a chance that Tennessee's going to play at home on December 21st.
Oh,
That
so
is
he could
true.
be home for December 21st.
So if that happens, he will be here on December 21st. If that does not happen, he's not going to be here till the day after
Later.
Christmas.
So you are rooting for Tennessee to beat Georgia and then lose to Vandy. That's what you're rooting for.
Or vice versa, right?
I'm just trying to figure my schedule out.
Probably not. Yeah.
Well, Jared, you haven't been here for a couple weeks. Can I ask you some sports-related questions from a couple weeks ago?
Bring them on.
How are you feeling post Tennessee, Alabama?
Post Alabama LSU, pretty good. Yeah.
How were you feeling post Tennessee, Alabama?
I mean, this Alabama team has a lot of holes in it. It's seemingly fixed in the LSU game. So, I mean, I'm a Virginia Tech fan at heart. This is not surprising to me. I've seen the empire fall before. Okay.
So
the Roman Empire, this is my Roman Empire. I've seen this happen before. I also think Kalen DeBoer has been doing a really good job this year to push back against the, I'm going to curse with a purpose, bitchy Alabama fans. So, I mean, I think he's been doing a really good job. I think Alabama, frankly, has kind of exceeded expectations, in my opinion.
Whoa.
For the first-year coach. I mean, they still have a lot of talent, but first-year coach is tough. And, I mean, he went into LSU, beat Brian Kelly, who hadn't lost as the LSU head coach at home at night games. LSU was on a 15-game winning streak at night games, and they got absolutely humiliated by Alabama. So, yeah, if you'd asked me 3 weeks ago, we're kind of on the rocks. But now that we're here, post LSU, Alabama, predate that however you want, look at the calendar in the back.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd say, I think Alabama's basically in.
Okay.
So I just don't want them in the SEC championship because we're going to somehow lose that unless we play Georgia. So I'd rather just not play, make the playoff, and go from there.
I've got one more for you. One more question. Bronny James, what are your thoughts here? Because apparently he's playing
in
all
the G League. Yeah.
Kind of, sort of. He's apparently playing all of the G League home games, but he's still dressing out for the Lakers for all the Lakers games.
Listen, this is one of the most impressive things that has ever happened in the NBA. It's not the first time this has happened, right? The Griffeys are the best example of father-son playing at the professional level.
I've never known that. I literally did not know that.
Ken Griffey Jr. and his father?
In the NBA?
Jared, I think Jared just smile and nod when Jerome says he doesn't know sports people.
Okay.
So it's impressive that it happened. It's a testament to LeBron's longevity. And Bronny is talented enough to get drafted. I don't know about Mike.
I actually don't know that he is.
He
was good enough to go to college to play ball, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. And I mean, so we'll see. But to be frank, second round picks, they never pan out. It's like once in a blue moon. So if you could draft Bronny and ensure that LeBron stays on your team for the next 3 years, like, of course you're going to do that.
Yeah.
I think you do that. I think it's an idiotic move not to do that. So, I mean,
do you think he's good?
We'll I don't know.
For an amateur or first year
I would
rookie.
say, did you say amateur?
I did. I meant to say rookie. I said amateur. It's fine.
Come back to me in 2 years. I don't think we have enough data to know that. He didn't really play at USC that much. He's an athlete, but give him 2 years to figure out his game, and then we'll see.
Jared, could you take him one-on-one?
Absolutely not. I would get absolutely creamed.
All right,
he's about your height,
he's pretty good.
Hey, this isn't recreational volleyball. Basketball is not my strong suit.
Well, with that, Jared, thanks for talking about sports ball. Let's move right on into our final period. Jackson, what's going on with you this week?
All right. So, since the last episode came out, there's been a major event that happened in the United States. It was the election.
We already talked about it. It was my mom's birthday.
Oh.
2 major events.
Yeah.
Anyways, so if you want to hear analysis about the election, go listen to like any other podcast, not ours, but I do want to talk about something that actually struck me with the election. I have a pop quiz for you all. I looked at some exit poll data that was published on election day, and I have it in front of me right now, and I want to pop quiz the 3 of you and see how you do. And that's going to lead into a diatribe that I'm going to go on afterwards. So here we go. The first question is, who won the age 65 and over demographic, Harris or Trump?
I'm going to guess Harris.
It was actually Harris.
Wow.
Surprisingly.
I'm actually very shocked by that. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. And that's going to be a theme of this pop quiz is I'm going to try to surprise you and your preconceived notions.
I honestly just guessed Trump because I felt like it was...
He won every demographic.
Yeah. That's the...
In a way, that'll also challenge your preconceptions. Yeah. Okay. So, and then following on that, who won the under 30 demographic?
Kamala. I know that.
I would have assumed Kamala. Yes.
Sorry. I thought I knew that. We'll see.
Maddox?
What did you guys answer?
I said Harris.
Kamala.
I said Harris.
I'll go Trump.
Okay, so that was also Harris. So
very notable. She won everything in between too.
No. She. I mean, it's like a stereotype that older and younger voters vote differently, but in this case, that didn't happen. I thought that was pretty notable.
So it's really, truly middle America.
Yeah. So next question. Who won first-time voters? So voters who voted for the very first time in their lives. Who won that demographic?
I would say Trump.
I'm going to go Harris.
I think Trump.
And my reasoning is because I don't know about older people that have never voted before, but I think the super young, the 18-year-olds, specifically I'm thinking of the young male 18-year-olds and the streamers that Trump went on with. I think he probably won a lot of those votes. So that's my reasoning.
Okay, yeah. So Trump won this demographic 56 to 43, which is pretty significant. Which just goes to show you that like a lot of people think that young people first of all, you think first-time voters automatically think young people. That's not all first-time voters.
True,
but
But that's indicative of the people that felt
compelled
like they
to
needed
vote for the first time.
Lean
voted for
Trump. Yeah, that's interesting. I would have expected the opposite.
Mm-hmm. And okay, so here's a general question that's not related to who won. Can you guess the percentage of voters who have a college degree?
Ooh,
35. 30.
Okay. But just percentage of voters, right?
Yes, percentage of people who voted in this election.
So I would think it's actually probably higher than you would think. So I'm going to say, tell me if I need to get more specific. I'm going to say 50% plus. I'll say 55% plus.
Say whatever you want to say, yeah. Maddox?
Okay, 55 plus.
20.
Okay, the actual answer is 43%.
That's higher than I thought.
Right between Jared and I.
think what this struck me is like, we're sort of in our circles. We are friends with a lot of people who graduated college, and you got to think like a majority of the voters don't have a college degree, and that's like pretty notable. It's sometimes it's like anyone who's listening to us, if you sometimes get in the circles where you like hang out with or interact with like a lot of the people who are like you, and so you make assumptions about this is what most people are like because this is how I'm like, and this is how all of my friends are like. But
that being said, though, I think at least the stat that I quickly looked up, 38% of Americans have a bachelor's degree or higher. So the fact that more than that percentage, like that's average for the country. Yeah. The fact that more than that are voters means amongst college educated voters, there's better turnout, right?
Slightly, yeah. It's 43 to 38. Who knows? That's probably significant, but it's still pretty marginal.
Well,
but yeah.
But isn't there part of this where? Never mind. Move on.
Next question.
No, but I get your point. Like we just assume that everyone's got a college degree. Everyone thinks like me. But yeah, like I just saw, 38%.
Insert your trait here. It doesn't have to be college degree. Insert your trait about people.
I don't assume that, but I think it's easy to when you're, I don't know. It's like that is true statistically, but when you just interact with the people that you interact with, you think that that's what you feel like how the rest of the world is thinking,
right?
Or to some resemblance of that, but
right.
All right, next question. Who won the vote for households making less than $50,000 a year?
Trump, for sure.
Harris.
It's Harris.
That is so
that
crazy.
one is the most shocking to me.
Okay, here's the next question. Who won the vote for households making more than $200,000 a year? More than.
I would also
Harris.
assume Trump.
Harris.
MADDOX?
I'm going to say Harris.
That's also Harris.
So it's literally just like this.
Middle America.
Middle America, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And also like defies the stereotype that rich people and poor people vote opposite, you know.
I would
Literally,
like to
they
know
voted
what
this-
I would like to know what the above 1 million crowd is, though, because I think
Well-
200,000 versus 1 million is very different nowadays.
That's
Yeah, but-
true. Although the over 1 million group is not very big. Like
Yeah,
I think
fair.
over 200,000 is
Fair.
about 13% of the country. Household
What is
income.
over 1 million? Like
I would guess
5%,
it's like
less than 5%.
less than 5%. Yeah, like 2%, 1%.
Yeah.
Okay. Next question. What percentage of people live with someone in their house who belongs to a labor union? Can you guess this percentage?
I would think low. I would think
Give me a
less
number.
than 20%. 18%.
Okay, MADDOX,
I'll do 15%.
I'm gonna
Jared.
say 40. I think it's sneaky. I'm gonna say 40.
Whoa.
The answer is 19%.
Damn, I was
Dang,
Almost
nice,
on the
Jerome.
money.
Do you guys think that's like
Nice.
higher or lower than you would have expected, or about right?
Well, based off of our guesses, I think it was slightly higher than MADDOX and I thought, and a lot lower than Jared thought.
Yeah.
I thought it was gonna be
Um,
sneaky.
In general, I mean, I just thought this was like, I actually thought this was kind of higher because, you know, there's like unions in America. There's a lot of like negativity about unions in America. But I guess something
Oh,
I
I
wasn't
get your
thinking
point.
about is that there's like unions like police unions and teachers unions, which are kind of
Like construction workers as well. Some of them, like
Yeah.
electricians, can be in
Technically,
unions.
SAG
Yeah,
is a
yeah.
union.
yeah.
The
Also,
Screen Actors Guild.
the players union for the NBA and MLB
Right.
and NFL.
But those are good ones that I hadn't thought of, yeah.
Those are pretty low numbers though, percentage
And
wise. But
you
anyways,
can't forget the Longshoremen's Union.
of course, yes. We've talked a great deal about the Longshoremen's Union. Okay, so among those people who live with someone who's in a union in their household, what percentage of those voters do you think voted for Harris? So I want you to give me a percentage of Harris voters.
So these are people who have a union member in their household.
Yes, it could be them. It could be a family member.
And that demographic is 19% of
The total
Voters.
electorate, the total voter. Yeah, the total voters.
okay. 19%.
And
What
now we're
percentage of
looking
them
at
do
the
you think voted
split.
for Trump?
Yeah, the split of that 19.
Yeah, and I'll give you. Well, actually, no, I won't give you a hint. It's what do you say? 40%.
Yeah, I'm with you, Jared. I think they voted more for Trump than for
Yeah. Well,
Harris.
my honest opinion is 40%. In the spirit of this, it's probably going to be something closer to like 55.
All right, MADDOX.
50.
All right, in the spirit of this, it is closer to 55. It's 53%.
Wow.
Voted for Harris?
Yes,
Bro,
Damn.
these results are shocking to me. So
and okay.
Harris won all the votes.
Well, hold on. One last question. In the last year, how much has inflation affected your family? Has it been a severe hardship, a moderate hardship, or no hardship? What percentage of voters do you think said it's been a moderate or severe hardship? Give me a percentage.
65 plus.
I want to say 80.
I was going to say 60.
Okay, it's 75%.
Yeah.
Wow, I was going to say
Yeah.
75, but
Yeah.
I expected the number to be high. It was higher than I thought, but I expected it to be
Okay.
high.
Yeah, higher than you thought.
Man.
So,
Just-
yeah, like Jerome was just saying, do these results surprise you?
Yeah,
Yes.
most of them.
Although I will say, I think this speaks, in my opinion, I think this speaks to literally how close, like how closely divided the U.S. is. That there's
Mhm.
so many different pockets that go the opposite direction for
Yeah.
both sides. I mean, for
Right,
Harris
right.
and for obviously Donald Trump winning all the other
Opposite
ones.
direction
Basically,
from what? Opposite from what you would think?
yes, because I think that speaks to just how like close everything was,
Yeah.
and it just so happened that this time a lot of them broke in Donald Trump's favor for whatever reason that I'm not necessarily
think-
going to understand.
I think you're kind of saying like we assume that like, oh, people in unions are all going to vote for Donald Trump, or old people are all going to vote for Donald Trump, or whatever. But even amongst the unions, it's like pretty equal split, right?
Yeah, and another takeaway I had that I took away from this is that sometimes, if you read the media, or watch news,
Pundits.
they say, oh, this group is this.
Yeah.
But if you think that and it's not right, then, your preconceived notions are sort of misguiding, like, what you think the correct action should be. So, like, let's say you worked on one of these campaigns. If your preconceived idea was that, like, okay, we don't have a chance with older voters, so we got to appeal to young people. Well, that was a bad strategy because older people actually voted for Harris,
Right.
which isn't
Right.
the norm. So my general takeaway from this, and I'm going to plug someone, well, he's not alive, but he died a couple years ago. But there's a guy whose name is Hans Rosling, who is a statistician, geographer, anthropologist. He's a Swedish professor. He is very famous he gave a TED Talk, or he gave many TED Talks, which are pretty well received. And what he talked about is that he talked about on the first day of his classes in his university, he would poll the students on questions about global health, because he taught about global health. And he found that he gave them 50-50 questions, and he found that on average, they would only get the questions right 40% of the time, which is like worse than random. And so basically it's like preconceived ideas are so wrong that they cause you to be more wrong than a random person. And that, sometimes that's like a problem with our society, is that we can't figure out what the correct thing to do is, or how to fix issues, if we don't even understand the data, or we don't know the data that tells us what the actual problem is.
Yeah.
I think you can say the same thing for like the stock market, for example.
Yeah. I was going to say,
like
also the only thing is, like, the polls, like, were wrong going into the election. How much can we believe these polls as well? You know what I'm saying?
No, I think that's not a good takeaway. I mean, there's margin of error, but like,
close.
These are polls taken at the literal voting sites, and
Sure, fair.
polling vote. There's margin of error, but I think you have to.
Yeah.
And I don't think the polls were that wrong. The polls said it was going to be about ±1, and it's going to be about, I think Trump is going to win the popular vote by about +1 or +2.
Yeah, I think everything broke his way. Like, all the swing states just broke his way.
Yeah.
Like, that's the ballgame.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And the only person who was wrong was that one well-respected pollster out of Iowa with the early poll.
Ann Selzer. Sad day to be Ann Selzer.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Also, we can shout out Tristan for most of my answers to that little pop quiz. I knew some of those because of Tristan.
Once again, everyone's favorite podcast member, Tristan, who none of our audience knows.
Listen, we can
just want to give him the plug.
We can talk more about the election after the episode on our Patreon, which doesn't exist. But
why would you?
Listen,
Discord. Engage in the Discord.
Engage in the Discord.
Yes, classroom.
To the classroom in the Discord. Thanks, Jared.
Thanks, Jared. Special guest has to do that.
Right.
Come on, man.
Well, with that, let's move right on into Recess, our findings of the funniest, dumbest memes and just random things on the internet that came across our feed this week. Speaking of the inflation issue, Jackson, I'd like to bring up one. I saw this tweet where this guy was talking about he recently watched a rerun on Food Network of a 2008 episodes of Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives, where he was eating like a cheeseburger, right? A bacon cheeseburger specifically. So I'm going to tell you the cost of that bacon cheeseburger today, and I want you to guess what it cost in 2008. Okay, today, the same store on their website sells the bacon cheeseburger for $17, which, first off, cheeseburger $17, that's crazy. But not unusual, I guess. Can you each guess how much that cheeseburger was in 2008?
I'm going to guess $7.49.
Okay. $7.49. Good guess. Jared?
$3.50.
About $3.50. Okay. MADDOX?
I'm going to go $1.75.
Good God. This is like a restaurant, not a McDonald's. It was $4.75. But like...
Jared got it.
Yeah, you were close. Price is Right rules. Jared got it.
4X.
Yeah, isn't
The
that
price.
crazy?
Yeah.
4x in 16 years?
I feel like that's a pretty, like, if you just blanket number, like a multiplier to apply to everything over that time frame, I feel like 4x is probably feels about right.
But,
is that right?
But by that math then, MADDOX, that means by 2040, this cheeseburger is going to cost $68.
I mean, one, that's like the whole extrapolation, like, flaw logic. Like, people extrapolate stock prices into the future that they shouldn't be extrapolating because
it's just linear.
Yeah.
So you're forgetting about the water wars that are going to happen in 50 years.
Also, why not?
You're right. If my salary is $2 million,
well, no one cares about your salary, but
you're right.
With all these boomers,
but no one cares about the inflation problem either. So I mean,
yeah, fair. Okay, I got another one.
And the 70. Can I just do
go
a
ahead.
callback? The 75% of voters that complained about inflation chose the more inflationary macroeconomic policies.
Yeah, you're right.
Fiscal policy, like
wow, MADDOX is getting really political. All of a
he's
sudden.
not though. That people.
That's just an objective statement, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Sure,
like
tariffs. That's inflationary policy right there. Anyway, I got another one. Did you guys see this? The Russian courts fined Google 2 undecillion rubles,
which is how many dollars?
It's actually $20. Actually, $20. Oh,
in 20 years, it's going to be $20 US.
Yeah, no, it's $20 decillion, 2 plus 34 zeros, because they were just like, you guys have been blocking our stuff, and it's not resulting in search and all this stuff. But it's like, why? Like, all of human wealth is like several $trillion or whatever. And, like, what's the purpose of this?
Why? I think like the world's like GDP.
Yeah.
Do you know what the thing that's the funniest to me about this? Like, it's such a randomly weird number. Somebody had to look that up. Like, somebody had to like make a decision of like,
yes,
let's just go with an undecillion. Or somebody was like, no, let's go with like a whatever number. And they were like, no.
It's like, how many zeros do you want? How many zeros do you want on this?
Yeah.
36.
Yeah. And they're like, that's a little bit much. Let's go 33. What's the next one down?
Right.
Maybe the Russian government is using the same strategy that like hospitals do, where they like charge an exorbitant high health bill, and they're saying, oh, we can settle with you for about
1% of that.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
A $17 burger in a diner.
Well, okay, last thing I wanted to talk about in recess. The fight's already going to be done by the time this episode comes out, but this weekend is the infamous Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson fight. I just want to get your guys' predictions. Who's going to win? I undoubtedly have Jake Paul. He is the favorite on all the sports books right now. I watched a little 3-part Netflix docuseries that came out this week about this fight. Jake's sitting at about 223 pounds. Mike's at 230. So I got Paul. Who do you guys got? Jackson?
Well, considering that Mike Tyson is getting paid to lose the fight, I'm betting on Jake Paul.
Okay. To Jackson's point, they've already said like Jake's going to get 40 million from this fight. Mike's going to get 20 million, around that.
Good appearance fee to lose a fight.
Yeah. Oh. So, Jared, go ahead. Who's going to win?
I'm sorry. That's just a crazy amount of money.
Yeah. Well, with inflation, if you do it in $2008.
Right. It's like maybe $20. I completely uninformed. I know Jake Paul is somehow going to win this fight. I hope Mike Tyson just beats the shit out of him, though. I honestly want him. I want to see him get rocked. I don't even care if he like wins the fight and like gets back up. I want to see Mike Tyson just like in a moment, like forget he got paid to lose the fight and just like rock 'em, sock 'em robots. That's what I want to see.
I echo this sentiment. Also,
I think a lot of
you got to
people
take the
that.
underdog on the sports books.
Right,
that's true.
Right.
That's the asymmetrical risk reward opportunity.
There you go. I think a lot of people agree with your guys' sentiment that they want him to absolutely dog slaughter Jake Paul.
So
that being said, he did not get paid to lose. This is not fixed.
Not publicly, anyways.
MADDOX, what were you going to ask?
That's what I was going to ask. Like, what's the deal with this payout thing?
It's not so. Okay, like that is the negotiated contract with Netflix. I assume the way that the breakdown works is each fighter probably gets 15 to 20 million or whatever. And then I'm sure with how much the viewership changes, it probably goes up or down. And then I'm sure the promotion also gets money. It just so happens Jake Paul owns the promotion, MVP. So it's probably the bag is split 3 ways or, close to 33, 33, 33. It just happens that Jake gets 2/3 of the 3 because he owns the promotion.
This is another good reason to bring the question back up. How much money, not that this applies to Jake Paul, how much money would you want to have Mike Tyson punch you in the face?
Whoa, I would do it hard, he's
prime,
breaking my cheekbone.
Prime Mike Tyson gets one solid punch and he connects just squarely. How much money?
I'd do it for $1 million.
100 rubles. No. You said $1 million, MADDOX?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would. I'd probably echo that.
Do I know if I'm going to have brain damage or not?
No, you don't know, but you are definitely going to the hospital.
There's some things in life that are more valuable than money.
Well, okay,
That's a good answer.
I don't know. Okay, if there's a risk of brain damage, I'm probably not going to partake.
Dang,
I'll find my wealth another way.
I'll do it. $1 million plus hospital fees is what I would do it for. I want $1 million cash. I want $1 million cash. Yeah, I don't want to get a million, but then all of that is used in my hospital bills. That's stupid. I want $1 million plus hospital bills.
Yeah.
Your health insurance will probably cover it.
A Mike Tyson clause. Oh my God, we actually will cover this for you.
Yeah.
Who knew?
They had to look it up themselves.
In the 1980s, some intern put it in there. Wow, okay, I guess we're actually going to do this.
Well, we'll find out on Friday. Jared's coming over. We're going to be able to watch it together. So we'll let you guys know in the Discord, in the classroom. Thanks for reminding me.
Good plug.
On that note, thank you guys for watching this episode. As always, if you want to interact with us, if you want to talk about the fight, if you want to talk about election stuff, talk about current events and when they're happening, make sure to join that classroom on Discord in the link below. Make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel to watch the video version of this podcast, Instagram, TikTok, at 9 Degrees Pod on everything. Thank you guys for watching the episode, and class is now dismissed.
Peace.